Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering Jeremiah chapters 10 through 13.
What happened?
I don't know. You started later.
I was counting it at like one pace behind where you were, I guess.
Okay.
I was at 1 while you were at 0.
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys start on 0.
We're rusty. That's what we are.
How?
I don't know.
There's been
The
zero
timing
breaks.
was off, Lawrence.
Well, there was a Friday apocryphal break, but we didn't even do those before.
No. See, that was where the rust came in, right there.
Great.
Yeah, the one day that we missed it.
Anyways, I have the King James version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard version of the Bible.
We also have the Robert Alter version of the Hebrew Bible, a translation with commentary.
We have Erdman's commentary on the Bible. We have the Hermenia translation and commentary on Jeremiah.
And we have the Holy Scriptures, according to some Jews in 1913, and the New King James.
Yes, the New King James. We also have couple of other commentaries, but I guess we're not really using
the Oxford Companion to the Bible, and
which we have completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
And did we reference the Old Testament survey section on Jeremiah?
I don't remember.
I don't.
And no, we haven't. You haven't touched
did.
that.
We haven't. Okay. Well, we know we had enough stuff.
Go, Lawrence.
Add more.
Put that shit back. I don't need it. We have enough commentaries here, and I don't think it's going to add anything
and
that we don't have.
What if it does? What if it's the one thing that pieces everything together?
You know what? If we need to check more commentaries, then we'll check it.
Well, let's get this open.
Yeah, that one's not really too helpful.
Oh no, Diamond's hilarious.
Oh, he is hilarious. I agree, but I mean like the structure of his commentary.
Yeah, well, it'll start being relevant in chapter 11.
Okay, great.
Great. Anyways, we're covering these chapters today.
Yeah, and aren't you excited to talk about Jeremiah's underwear today?
What, like a Mormon?
Not exactly like the Mormons, but his underwear will be part of it. His loincloth.
Oh, check this out. We now have lower frame rate or bit rate than the recommended bit rate.
Yeah, YouTube's giving us
that's
those.
recommended is 2,500.
But
it says 2,570 is coming, and that's too low.
All right. Well, I don't know.
Crank it up to like 8K. What up? Who cares?
I think
it's wonderful.
As long as everything's working, as long as everyone hears us and sees us just fine, I think we'll be.
Who cares?
Be all right.
It seems like it works.
Okay, sounds good. Well, then let's get started. Chapter 10.
Yes. So here's before we get into chapter 10, let's talk a little bit about some of the the setting that this is under. So under these circumstances, there is no way to unequivocally to prove or disprove the authenticity of this passage to Jeremiah, but the remarks in his another section that he has have set the stage for a cautious marshaling of evidence for authenticity. The very oddity of the Aramaic verse in verse 11 can suggest authenticity as much as it suggests that it is a late gloss. As already noted, Jeremiah made use of Aramaic elsewhere. The verse offers a carefully constructed chiasmus of 8 members. It ironically suspends the identity of the subject, God or the gods, until the middle of the verse. And the middle 2 words, the verbs, offer a wordplay. It might well fit Jeremiah's talent to frame a clever curse form shaped in the language of the idolaters among whom his audience found themselves. Rudolph thinks that if the setting were the exiles in Babylon and verse 11 were genuine, the words, "Thus shall you say to them," would not be in Aramaic. But this is to be over logical. That's if you say so. Over logical. One could without difficulty imagine a comedian interrupting his English material to say, something in French. I don't know.
Great.
The diction of the verse is specifically concerned for idols finds more parallel with demonstrably Jeremic language than does the diction of the verses concerned with Yahweh. Thus, quote, nothing in reference to idols is a favorite of Jeremiah elsewhere. The word does not appear in Isaiah with reference to idols. The phrase time of their punishment and its variance is a favorite of Jeremiah. 4 times further in the oracles against foreign nations, he's listing a whole bunch of them. So there are 8. Yeah, 8 or 9 references to that phrase. The phrase is not found at all in Isaiah, and the phraseology of Isaiah 10:3 and Hosea 9:7 is slightly different. And he goes, into more of these examples. So either way, the authenticity is hard to call on this.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll start us off. We also have all these pretty pictures.
We finally made it to the picture section because there's only one in this Bible.
No, I think we had.
There's 3.
Oh, we had picture section
before. We
before.
made it to it once, and
I didn't know there were 2.
This one.
Yeah,
I didn't even know there were 2.
Let's see those pretty pictures.
So these are the pictures.
Look how pretty they are.
These are biblical things.
Classic.
Maybe hold it up.
Ancient.
Check it out.
Perhaps.
A little lower.
That should be good, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole bunch of these. There's these ones here.
Oh, more? You got more for us?
Yep.
And, why not?
And
is this an art show? Is that what we're doing?
And this
well,
one
this
here,
part is.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It's in the Bible. I had to show it. Anyways, let's get started with chapter 10. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them.
And of course the signs of heaven stuff, astrology.
Yeah. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hand of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good.
Yeah, so once again, we are railing against idolatry. That's what we're doing today.
Yep. So
they're works of hands.
Yep. Carved out of trees with some woodsman's axe, and they're incapable of action.
Is amongst his many, many descendants who have a bone to pick with those guys who prayed at those rocks.
For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Lord, thou art great, and thy name is great in might. Who would not fear thee, O King of nations? For to thee doth it appertain, forasmuch as among all the wise men of the nations, and in all their kingdoms, there is none like unto thee.
Even
though they were literally all supposed to be in the image of the Lord, and therefore,
but there's none quite like like God is the best of the best, obviously. It's interesting to me that they used King of Nations. So there are multiple ways one could interpret nations, upon or on biblical definitions. So one way would be like the way we do. Right, so if King of Nations, obviously King of the whole world, like that's what they're trying to say, right?
Or King of
the enemies.
Well,
of
they
Israel.
say here,
because
wise men
nations.
of the nations, right? And the nations being enemies of Israel means that like the God of Israel is superior to all of the wise men in those nations.
Okay,
right. Well, it's been enemies of Israel pretty consistently.
Yeah, it has. So that's what I'm saying. It could be interpreted both ways.
Yeah. But they're altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanities. Silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz, the work of the workman in the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They're all the works of cunning men. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation.
So the location of Uphaz is unknown. The text is open to doubt. So this said,
So
yeah,
I'm assuming
gold.
that they have some mines in Uphaz.
Well, if you remember, what was one of the most popular places in the Bible to go get gold from? It was Ophir, right? So if the text should read Ophir, then the location may well be in present-day Somaliland. Whatever the identity of the name, the poet may well have wished to suggest in the sources for silver and gold the extremes of west and east, respectively.
You know, there was one thing that I mentioned in the Quran video about Mount Sinai being used in a different form.
Yes.
It was like signing that only occurs there, and it only happens for the sake of the rhyming meter that they're using at the time. I wonder if some of these place names have that going on. Because Ophir is
alteration.
pretty
Perhaps, yeah.
close to Uphaz.
Close. It's it's getting there.
It has at least one similar root
Yeah,
letter.
yeah.
Oh.
So
Not a. Yeah, so it's open. Yeah.
yeah, and also Arash is kind of just like a longer Zion. So the Zion goes like and then has one thing going down. The Arash is like
Okay, so very similar.
yeah, the Arash is just like longer. So it could be something like that. Also, O and U, usually these are represented by a wow that has a dot in the middle or above in modern Hebrew. So I'm assuming that they use the same root letter for O and like U.
See, I have no
this-
clue. So
Whatever this was written in, I assume Hebrew.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and everlasting King, and his wrath. Okay, so he's the nations with his indignation. Ooh. Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens.
So this for the climactic role played in the passage by this Aramaic verse. Okay, yeah, see preliminary observations. So the verse opens with the Aramaic version of the formulaic instruction to the hearers to carry a message for the Hebrew equivalency 27:4 to them. As it turns out, to the nations and their idol makers. As already noted, the main verb of the message may be taken either as indicative, they shall perish, or jussive, let them perish.
I wonder what that one psalm was. The one with the Council of the Gods.
Yeah,
I
Psalm
wonder-
82.
I wonder what its relationship with this section is. Like if it predates it or postdates it.
I'm guessing it would be afterwards, maybe, depending on when this was actually written, because like we mentioned before, the date on this it's hard to call.
Yeah, because the theme is very similar. And unlike other areas, it literally has it saying that it's going to like destroy the other gods, basically. All
Yeah.
of them.
So the initial words of the verse remind one of liturgical formulas for the God of creation. Compare God Most High, maker of heaven and earth, yada, yada, yada. But of course, the deferring of the verb, the deferring of the verb defers the negative as well, so that this formulation turns the normal form upside down. And I can't read these two Hebrew words.
Oh, they have vowels.
Yeah, right with those.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
If you want to go ahead and give those, read that commentary.
So there's Ara and Arka.
Okay. Ara and Arka. Okay.
Arka is the first one left to right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So the shift from Ara to Arka within short compass is curious. The spelling with Kop is earlier. The Elephantine papyri of the 5th century uses both spellings, and the later Aramaic used the spelling with ayin, so that one must simply assume the carelessness of a copyist. The shift plays no part in the rhetoric of the passage. So continuing on here on more the God stuff, the word under is not necessary for the symmetry of the passage, so its presence must be deliberate. The pagan gods are not heavenly beings at all, but are earthbound. Makes sense. Earlier commentators assumed that the last words of the verse were Hebrew, but recently uncovered documents make it clear that it is good Aramaic for the period. Its syntax is ambiguous. So we have the Greek version. We have, I think, the Peshitta and I don't know if this is Targum. I don't remember. But either way, 3 separate textual traditions construe the word with heavens. They shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. The Vulgate surprisingly stretches the Aramaic to translate "let them perish from the earth and from those places which are under the heavens." But others have construed the word to modify the gods. So Calvin and also Condamine, and given the chiastic arrangement and the initial ambiguity of, was this the same word here? I think it's arat. I think it's that same one. Or is it Elohim? Is it Elohim?
That is Elahaya.
Oh, okay.
Elahaya.
Okay.
Elahaya.
All right, so very, not too far off there. This construction is doubtless correct. The word would be a final emphasis on the plurality of the gods.
Which, it sounds vaguely like God on high.
Yeah.
Because Ahaya.
The whole verse is heavy with sarcasm. These gods depicted by the idols had no part in the creation of heavens and earth, and do not belong upon the earth or under the heavens. They must disappear. And that, fits in with all the stuff that we've seen before about idols, right? Like they are just the work of hands.
Well, I'm happy to tell you that in this next verse we have some interesting bit of flat earth cosmology.
And you know what? I love watching flat earth debates. It is, watching the dumpster fire is hilarious. Just watching them just stumble is so funny to me. So,
well,
you know what? Let's see.
Okay, so
let's see what the Bible says.
When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. So this bit of flat earth cosmology, that he causes vapors to rise from the ends of the earth.
Well, I would say that just means from like far and wide, from everywhere.
I would say that they're imagining a square flat earth with ends that they think that the water doesn't just fall off, that it turns to vapors because of God and forms.
Right, and then you see the clouds and all that. And the thing is, at this time, like I'm honestly not sure. Like we can tell pretty clearly from like Enoch, for example, that it was a flat Earth cosmology.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Enoch.
Yes, shout out to Enoch.
But we don't know when Jeremiah is from. Exactly.
Well, like I don't know if there's enough here to say anything about his cosmic geography.
Well, we'll see throughout the book if we can reference
Okay.
anything else.
Okay.
But that's one thing that differs from Enoch here in the Bible, because the winds were described in Enoch as being totally different, right? They weren't. I don't think you would describe coming out of those windows and gates as being his treasures.
Wait, which verse is
This
his treasures?
is in verse 13.
Okay, so
And bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures.
okay, interesting. Okay, so maybe it should read like treasury or something because so
Didn't he have a treasury in heaven? Or
he had
something?
storerooms.
storerooms,
Storeroom.
which did open to the gates.
Right. So
Held the sun and the
But
moon.
there's all these different gates. And are they all treasures?
So here's the translation from Alter. As he sounds his voice, a roar of water in the heavens, and he brings up clouds from the end of the earth, lightning from the rain he makes, and he brings out wind from his storerooms.
So
And that would be, kind of, in the vein of Enoch, I guess.
that's close.
I'm not going to,
It's a better term than treasures, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to go into Barker mode here,
Yeah.
but
It's a conspiracy. Mark.
Well, then they definitely still believe that wind comes from these mysterious sources in the sky somewhere.
sure.
Okay. Every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. I assume breath being ruach. Here.
Oh, well, there's no spirit in them.
Okay, so it's ruach. Or a similar term,
Yeah.
at least. They are vanity and the work of errors. In the time of their visitation, they shall perish. It's odd because they continually refer to these idols as like just the creation in the hands of man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not living things. But they keep saying that they'll die.
That's a good point. So like, we get
Your
what
fake, not real gods
we-
are gonna die.
we
What?
get what they're we get what they're saying. Like they will be destroyed perhaps, or
Right, so
no one will
whether-
believe in them.
I think also time will destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of like he's saying that no matter what, time will not destroy him. But these idols, like they'll get weathered, the rains will fall upon them, blah blah blah. They'll fall apart. I guess that's dying, or even the idea of them going away forever. Like conceptually, like lots of gods existed, in mythos that have been wiped out historically, and we don't know about them. We did try to rediscover them all the time, but they are gone, so they're dead, I guess. I don't know. Otherwise, being a bit loose with the term, right?
Well, yeah, definitely playing fast and loose with the word there. So that was verse 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so before we continue on, let's see. Mere breath are they, a work of mockery. In their judgment time, they shall perish. So they are nothing, a zero. They are a work of mockery in two senses. Idols are worthy only to be mocked as one would mock a scarecrow. But further, the idols mock their worshippers in their very powerlessness. So they should they should be embarrassed, I'm guessing. Except for this passage, all other occurrences of in the time or year of their punishment refer to the punishing of ungodly men. This passage then implies that Yahweh will treat the gods and their images as he treats people who disobey him. They shall perish. Gotcha. Oh, that answers it.
Okay. He hath made the earth in his power. Okay, we're further on than that. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Gather up thy wares out of the land, O inhabitant of the fortress. For thus saith the Lord, Behold,
Behold!
I will sling out the inhabitants of the land at this once, and will distress them, that they may find it so. Woe is me for my hurt. My wound is grievous. But I said, truly, this is a grief, and I must bear it. My tabernacle is spoiled, and all my cords are broken. My children are gone forth of me, and they are not. There is none to stretch forth my tent any more, and to set up my curtains. For the pastors are become brutish, and have not sought the Lord. Therefore they shall not prosper, and all their flocks shall be scattered. Ooh, sounds like modern religion.
Well, and also, lots of I know they specifically included the word tabernacle in there. But yeah, lots of all the imagery from that, right?
The cords.
Exactly.
Yeah. Behold!
Behold!
The noise of the bruit is to come. This is Bruit.
Which verse?
22.
Hark a sound. Hark a sound. Look, it comes.
Okay, the noise of the bruit. See if you can find any commentary on that.
And a great tumult from the land of the north.
Yeah, a great commotion out of the north country.
Oh, boy.
To make the cities of Judah desolate, and a den of dragons.
Jackals again. It says jackals.
It says dragons.
It's a jackal. It's a jackal. It's a
Okay.
jackal. It's jackal.
So whoever was working on Jeremiah for the King James version of the Bible
Had
really
something.
liked dragons, man. Like-
Don't we all?
Like, is it gonna start talking about like Game of Thrones spoilers in here? Is it gonna start going on about like a Khaleesi? These are terms that don't appear in other Bibles. Why not?
So I can't tell you about the translation of that, but I can tell you that it's not accurate. At least we shouldn't be using it in any modern sense.
The North Country being Assyria, or maybe a reference to Babylon,
Or just stuff in Israel.
yeah.
They're all so this might clear up some of the
Well, at this
some of the
point,
confusion over the first part of
land
the verse.
formerly known as Israel,
Of course, yeah. So one, because you mentioned how different the first part of the translation was, right?
Uh-huh.
So verse 22 here, Yahweh speaks, but the meaning of that first part, I'm guessing it's that first part, is
Yeah, the
unclear.
noise of the bruit is to come.
Yeah, but apparently the meaning of that is unclear. The second noun ordinarily means news or rumor, but the parallel, great shaking, suggests a noise, not news. Evidently, both the news and the noise of battle are approaching.
Well, Lawrence, they're talking about the good news in there. That's a prediction of the gospel.
Wow.
I like it.
Oh,
Was
this
this your Southern Baptist lawyer impression?
Quite a stretch.
This is my Christian impression.
Oh, jeez.
Quite a stretch.
Quite a stretch. Well,
It's
I'm
quite
Chris.
a
I'm one
situation.
away from Christian. Not Christian, but I'm Chris. Other people are named Christian.
Either way, traditionally, the word in this and similar contexts has been
Tanim, dragon, serpent, sea monster, dragon or dinosaur, sea or river monster, serpent, venomous snake.
okay.
So where is the jackals
where's
coming from?
That one Family Guy episode I keep referencing.
Jackal. It's a jackal. Yeah. Before we get too off course here, I'm going to get through this commentary. Traditionally, the word in this and similar context has been taken not as noise of, but as an interjection. Hark. I see. Okay. One might take it here as an inner parallel with listen. but the examples of the presumed interjection have in many cases been explained otherwise, and it seems safer to take the whole of the first colon as a participle clause. In a culture largely preliterate, word of mouth was the medium for news. But when that news is news of an army on the march from a distant land, then it is a rumor, with all the panic rumor always engenders. So that, fits with the language of the at least of some of the apocalyptic stuff in the New Testament. War and rumors of war fits in with the language there. So
Maccabean, almost.
So there's referencing to earthquakes and the marches of warriors and, of course, chariots. The rumor of the coming army comes no faster than the foreign troops themselves. For land of the north, we'd have to make a back reference. And then, I'm going to go to another verse. You can continue reading, but I am going to check once again on this jackal thing.
O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. O Lord, correct me, but with judgment, not in thine anger, lest thou bring me to nothing. Pour out thy fury upon the heathen that know thee not, and upon the families that call not on thy name. For they have eaten up Jacob and devoured him, and consumed him, and have made his habitation desolate. And that's the end of chapter 10.
Yeah,
if you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, neighbors, everyone that you've ever met in your life.
Yes, everyone in your life. That's a great idea, actually.
Those people that you didn't think that you met and you just briefly walked by once? You should share with them.
I think they would
those
really
passerbys.
I think they'd really appreciate knowing, don't you?
Yeah. Like you thought they were a random person, but no, they're
no,
the guy that you share the link with.
They were put there so you could share the show with them.
Thanks.
And here are some commentaries for you.
I'll take those commentaries.
I'd have to continue flipping through that to the next section.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And then here is Alter's translation with commentary.
Okay, I'll take Alter's translation with commentary.
And then we can do chapter 11 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the broken covenant.
So,
not again.
Eerdmans.
Yeah, this is where it has its own.
Chapter 11 through 2018 into its own section.
Okay.
It says an overview. Oracular power, prophecy, risks the divinity it intermediates amid the cultural crisis of colonization. For if oracular power truly guides, or better yet, creates the destiny of nations, why could not that social institution have prevented the colonization of Judah in the first place? Anxiety about the failure of prophecy deeply intertwines with the failure of God. A newly elaborated myth of prophecy becomes apologetic fodder for the rehabilitation of a particular Yahwistic myth. In this instance, the figure of Jeremiah within the prophetic mission must be individuated and psychologized. An interior landscape must be constructed for the prophet as well as the deity, and the two of then intersected to sustain the regime of reason advocated by the composition. Since Jeremiah has already been represented as a prophet in the Mosaic succession, the composition must now rescue his mission from its failure to fully embody the Mosaic legend. Where the prophets fracture themselves in contradicted missions, oracular power risks its own deconstruction. Hence, interest in the figure of Jeremiah as the true prophet achieves new levels of intensity in chapters 11 through 20. Not only does this entail external representation and evaluation of the prophetic mission, but also throughout through the continued use of narratized dialogue, it offers an interior landscape of the prophet that intersects with an interior landscape constructed for Yahweh. Thus, the myth of God and his oracular agent are rehabilitated, enlivening hope in the oration dreams of the composition. So, we're going to get a whole bunch of that.
A whole bunch of stuff on why Jeremiah is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And why he is the prophet.
Can't wait. All right.
Aren't they all
Jeremiah,
just the prophet?
show me what you got.
Okay, so one thing about verses 1 through 14, every commentator gives an extensive treatment of 1 through 14 because it has appeared to offer clues to the attitude of Jeremiah towards Deuteronomy and or the Deuteronomic reform, or at least clues to the attitude of later Germanic tradition toward these matters. Thus, it has seemed plausible to many to view the phrase, this covenant, in verse 2, 3, 6, and 8, as a reference to the covenant concluded by Josiah at the time of the reform stimulated by the discovery of Deuteronomy in 622.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, a minority have seen linguistic objections to this. In verse 3, the phrase appears to refer to what follows, and have instead insisted that the phrase refers simply to the one Sinai covenant. Verse 4 is their sign for this.
And it's more to remember. So if we can recover some form of the Mosaic law, if you want to call it that, then an original form would probably be part of Deuteronomy. That would be an original form. And the thing is, we can never be, certain that we have that. But that's if it's anywhere, it's probably there. So
yes. So it's not enough to say that this material contains Deuteronomistic phraseology.
Mm-hmm.
Verses 3 through 5 do, as will be shown. I mean, we'll get to it. But for a specific reason, and verses 6 through 14 do not, at least to the same degree. 3 through 5 are a deliberate variation on the pattern of Deuteronomy 27, 15 through 26, where a series of verses begins with cursed, aror, and ends with so be it, amen, amen.
You have Deuteronomy 27. Was that the list of blessings? Because I remember in Deuteronomy 28, there was a short list of blessings and then a huge list of curses. And the curses were
Worse.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was the chapter, though. Maybe I'm just mixing things up.
Well, there's also...
It's a big book.
Amen being so be it is like the only real relevant use of it in this chapter, and in 28:6. So,
all right, let's
that's what we're getting into, some Deuteronomistic crap.
Can't wait. All right, chapter 11. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Hear the words of this covenant.
So,
all right.
The covenant here. Alter argues that the word and concept figure importantly in the prophecies of Jeremiah. It's possible that in this he's influenced by Deuteronomy, which is conceived as a renewal of Israel's covenant with God. So this happens during Josiah's reforms. So,
hear the words of this covenant and speak to the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. You shall say to them, thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, cursed be the man who does not hear the words of this covenant that I commanded your fathers when I brought them out of the land of Egypt from the iron furnace. You probably had some commentary.
yeah.
This sentence goes on
the
longer
iron
than I thought.
furnace, the iron's forge. This phrase appears in Deuteronomy 4:20, and Jeremiah is probably quoting it.
Neat.
Furthermore, commentators and translators differ whether to render aror ha'ish as cursed be the man or cursed is the man. The present passage imitates the diction of Deuteronomy 27, 15 through 26. And one assumes that the words in Deuteronomy are to be understood as divine words stating an accomplished fact, not words expressing a wish. The passage before us must therefore be heard in the same way, so that is preferable.
So anyways, that I commanded your fathers when I brought them out of the land of Egypt from the iron furnace, saying, listen to my voice and do all that I command you. So shall you be my people, and I will be your God, that I may confirm the oath that I swore to your fathers, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as at this day.
Yeah. So
then I answered, so be it, Lord.
Yeah, so this is Amen, O Lord. Since God has just been cited as pronouncing the words of a solemn vow, the response of Amen, the Hebrew term has the sense of it is true, is appropriate.
Yeah, so that he may confirm the oath that he swore to the fathers. You know, I mean, he did for a short time, but if you remember the Deuteronomistic history, lots of, you know, maybe he wasn't so great about it. I mean, I'm not gonna say they were so great about it, but like, I don't know. It's God; he can do whatever.
Sure.
I mean, like he doesn't have to, you know, even follow his own covenant.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
It's non-binding.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely conditional,
Yep.
which makes sense.
That's
because-
why you were mutilated as a child.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was mutilated.
Yep.
Explains a lot.
For a non-binding covenant.
Yep.
It's highly conditional.
Yeah, it's not like I can really do anything about that, but let's continue. And the Lord said to me, proclaim all these words in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. Hear the words of this covenant and do them. For I solemnly warned your fathers when I brought them up out of the land of Egypt, warning them persistently, even to this day, saying, obey my voice. Yet they did not obey or incline their ear, but everyone walked in the stubbornness of his evil heart. Therefore I brought upon them all the words of this covenant, which I commanded them to do, but they did not.
So there's linguistic parallelism between walking in the stubbornness of their evil heart and listen and turn one's ear. They have it listed somewhere else, but rest assured there is Hebrew linguistic parallelism there.
I completely believe that.
Yep.
And the thing is, I would go, you know, a little bit further than the Hebrew linguistic parallelism. I would say there is definitely some influence here on one thing or another. So, maybe so I'd say the author of this section either knew about the Deuteronomistic history,
Well,
or
part of this covenant,
or the other way around. But yeah.
well, Alter says that part of the covenant, as Deuteronomy spells out, is a series of disastrous outcomes if the covenant is violated. And that's invoked here in verse 8.
Sure, that does make sense. But also I want to point out the phrasing about, you know, leading them out of Egypt and stuff. So if you remember all the golden calf stuff,
Yeah, of
and
course.
not only, I mean, you know, there's the whole video about it, but like not only is it for, you know, like the golden calf in the wilderness, like not only is it that one, but also, you know, if you think back to the one from Jeroboam, right? And the amount of references here to bringing them out of Egypt. Now, I know that it that, you know, bringing out of Egypt has been used quite a lot already. So I know that it was used a lot in Kings and the Kings narratives as well.
Yeah, well, there's also another phrase here.
So I guess it is hard to say.
Yeah, there's
now that I'm
another
rethinking
phrase here. Bring them over all the words of this covenant, the words of this covenant. The phrase there suggests the diction of the prophetess Huldah to the emissaries of Josiah, 2 Kings 22:16. See also 25:13. The implication of their earlier fathers in verse 10, which we haven't gotten to that yet, right? But makes it likely that the focus in the expression "your fathers" in verse 7 is on Josiah and his generation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's shifting from Sinai to the recent past, right?
Okay, yeah, because they didn't listen before, but now they are especially not listening. And it gets a little bit more interesting with the next verse.
Yeah, we got a kesher,
Amazing.
a conspiracy.
All right. So again, the Lord said to me, a conspiracy exists among the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They have turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers who refused to hear my words.
So
They have gone after other gods to serve them. Yeah, lots of Deuteronomic language here.
yeah, so a kesher refers to a political conspiracy, as in a plot to overthrow a legitimate king. Right? So this is like a coup, basically.
Or, from the text, God is interpreting it as a coup.
It's also related to another word that shares the same root, which is tie instead of conspiracy. There's a plot among the people to rebel against Yahweh, just as Hoshea of Israel plotted against the king of Assyria, 2 Kings 17:4. In the context of 594, the conspiracy against Nebuchadnezzar is a conspiracy against Yahweh. But if there is a prehistory to verse 9, then at the time when verses 18 to 20 first took shape, a conspiracy against Jeremiah was a conspiracy against Yahweh. For all these people, these specific matters, they have a different subsection.
Yeah, it does get to specifically more about Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm. So they also have the parallels, House of Israel and House of Judah. Might suggest that fate overtook the northern kingdom and is now about to overtake the south. So if one understands these verses correctly, verses 9 through 10, I think you haven't read 10 yet. Or did you?
Yeah, I
did,
yeah.
Okay. If you understand it correctly, Jeremiah is accusing those in the period after Josiah's death of backsliding into the ways of the time before that king's reforms. So there's a similar comparison of generations that occurs in 726.
Isn't there's usually a comparison of generations.
They did.
Happens a lot.
And they did evil. They didn't follow the ways of their fathers.
Damn high places.
Yeah, it's damn high places. Therefore, thus says the Lord, Behold!
Behold.
I am bringing disaster upon them, that they cannot escape. Though they cry to me, I will not listen to them. Then the cities of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem will go and cry to the gods to whom they make offerings, but they cannot save them in the time of their trouble. For your gods have become as many as your cities, O Judah, and as many as the streets of Jerusalem are the altars you have set up to shame, altars to make offerings to Baal.
So you put up altars to the shame. The Hebrew boshet, shame, is repeatedly used as a pejorative designation for Baal. Here, this is especially clear because the shame and Baal appear in apposition.
Yeah. Also, I want to talk a little bit about.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the linguistic structure of these things. So, it says, for the phrase, I am going to bring upon them disaster, compare 4:6 and 5:15. The use of, I think this is yitzmin, for escape is unusual. The use of cry may suggest a deliberate reversal of Deuteronomy 26:7, where a word that's the same except for one letter,
Okay.
appears, the Sinai covenant will at last be overturned. There are no other relevant instances of this phraseology in comparable material, though Isaiah 1:15 offers the same thought. For the motifs of verse 12, check chapter 2. Verse 13 is a secondary insertion from 2:28, including 2 cola missing there in Masoretic, but supplied from Greek. The shift from third person, verses 11 through 12, to second person plural in the reference to the people in the verse is impossible, given the second singular addressed to Jeremiah in verse 14. For the contents of verse 14, there is no hope for the people.
Which we haven't gotten to yet, verse
Yeah.
14.
So there's no hope. God doesn't care. Yahweh has abandoned us. That is that's what we're getting into. And
Yay.
not even Jeremiah can do anything about it.
Well, he's going to try. He is going to try.
Yeah.
What is he going to ask God?
Hey, you know what? It worked for Abraham.
It works for all the guys that
I
ask
guess
God.
so.
So what I wanted to mention was, for your gods have become as many as your cities, O Judah, and as many as the streets of Jerusalem are the altars. So, you have a lot of altars, a lot of gods. Now, the thing is, in the ancient world, having a god per city isn't that crazy. Like, the thing is, there's plenty of archaeological evidence that shows that there were even local Yahweh cults. So you had, 2 of the most famous ones. You have Yahweh of Samaria and Yahweh of Timon. And these are, like, the inscriptions themselves. I think it's from, what are they called? Is it, I'm probably thinking of, Kuntalet Adrud. That's what it's called, these the inscriptions. So they show, I think it's the same one, unless I'm mixing these up. Yahweh and his Asherah. So you have you have 2 beings there, and they, you have Yahweh as being one of them, obviously, and then you have another woman next to him, looks like a woman. So that would be his Asherah, and then in the back you have like maybe a scribe or a musician. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but yeah, it would be the Kuntalet Adrud. Yeah. So the thing, local cults existed for gods all the time. Like you had patron deities,
Right. And of course you had like different names of the same deity. I think Marduk had like over 30 different Marduk names.
Yeah, and it's more than just the names. Like, do you mean like epithets or?
Oh yeah, like titles.
Titles are a little bit
El
different.
Elyon.
Yeah.
Yahweh. Right.
I would say titles are a little bit different.
But there are different names of gods and different names of God.
Yeah,
there's like over 40 of them, right?
There is quite a lot. Yeah.
So there's quite a few of those. Also in Islam, they have, I think, a thing about 50 names or something of God.
There's a good list in where what was that book? It was from Frank Moore Cross, Canaanite Myth and Hebrew Epic. There's a huge list of all the names.
Yeah.
All right.
Go check it out, listeners.
It's a very
viewers.
good book. It's still mostly holds up. So off to
tell me when you get to the end of verse 14.
Okay. Therefore, do not pray for this people or lift up a cry or prayer on their behalf, for I will not listen when they call to me in the time of their trouble. That's verse 14.
Okay. So after verse 14, 15 through 16, the text of the verses is exceedingly corrupt, and no reconstruction can be anything but tentative.
Oh boy.
The proposal offered by these people
From Holiday.
takes account of the basic imagery of the verse and general patterns of Jeremiah's diction and seeks a text with the minimum change of the consonants of the Masoretic text.
So
the
this
different versions are of little help. The text was evidently damaged at an early date. Verse 15 is evidently about meat. offered at the temple.
Okay.
So why don't you read verse 15?
All right. What right has my beloved in my house when she has done many vile deeds? Can even sacrificial flesh avert your doom? Can you then exult? Okay, so my guess from this is, obviously Israel has sinned. So, get out of my face, Israel. I don't want to see you. And even the sacrifice that Yahweh loves so much, if you go back to the whole flood narrative, right afterwards, even that sacrifice, he loves it so much, and not even that can avert their doom. That's how much they have wrong. Wait, hold on. So
I just want to say that Holiday's translation is, "What have your kettles to do with me? In my house you have done these schemes. Have the fatlings and meat of my sanctuary been so pleasing?"
Oh, wow. That makes no sense.
The thing is, it's not that it doesn't make sense, but it's quite different.
Well, it says the word "to my beloved," re, is impossible here. Such diction is found in 12:7, but the genre of that passage is different from that of the sarcastic word of judgment here. And furthermore, the masculine word doesn't fit with the later feminine references. The suggestion of Rudolph to read li rurach, to me your kettles, not as undoubtedly correct. Kettles are mentioned both early and late narratives as part of the equipment at the sanctuary for cooking the meat which is offered. 1 Samuel 2:14, 2 Chronicles 35:13. The cap at the kopf at the end of durach would then have been read as a bet. The word beiti or veti or something like that itself can mean in my house. The word haravim does not fit. Greek rightly reads an interrogative here, but it's reading vows. Nedarim is needlessly far from both context and the consonantal text. The suggestion of Driver and Hyatt, accepted by Rudolph, is excellent to read havriim, fatlings, with the interrogative, though I would read habriim with definitive article to match the meat of my sanctuary, using the he of the previous word as the he interrogative. And instead of reading Bishar Kodesh as holy meat, I would use the yud following Kodesh to read Bishar Kadshi, meat of my sanctuary, understanding my sanctuary as parallel to my house. The verb is not right as a form of avor either. The reading which commends itself, I propose, is ariv, that 3b to one's taste. That verb occurs in 620 in a similar context, and that occurrence lends to some plausibility to the reconstruction here. The b, that might be a key, which follows, introduces a clause dependent on the he interrogative. For the same construction, see 1820, the verb cleanse, hip-il, is guesswork, but at least the word is in the semantic field of the verse. The same stem is used in Job 9:30 of cleaning one's hands, and the related adjective zach or zad, I think, is, it's hard with the text.
Yeah.
Is used of pure frankincense in Exodus 30:34 and Leviticus 24:7. The meaning of hamulah has recently been clarified by the Ugaritic, HMLT. The word means multitude, crowd. This might be into verse 16, I don't know. But
So I do want to point out here, so Alter does have some commentary on the translation of that. Now, he does use beloved in there, but he also does point out how corrupt the text actually is, and how no other version really helps us out here, because I'm guessing they're all messed up too. And there was a commentator who also pointed out, every translation of this verse is kind of strained and unlikely. So there's that for you. So, I mean, my best guess is that it means something along the lines of Israel has not been good, and even a sacrifice won't help in this case.
Mm-hmm. So tell me when you get to the end of verse 17.
All right, we'll do. The Lord once called you a green olive tree, beautiful with good fruit. But with the roar of a great tempest, he will set fire to it, and its branches will be consumed. The Lord of hosts, who planted you, has decreed disaster against you because of the evil that the house of Israel and the house of Judah have done, provoking me to anger by making offerings to Baal. That is the end of verse 17.
We are now entering into the confessions of Jeremiah.
Okay, so it is now Jeremiah's turn to go for it, give it a shot.
Yep, between Jeremiah
The old
and Yahweh.
college try.
So these are 11:18 through 23, 12:1 through 6, 15:10 through 14, 15 through 21 in chapter 15, 17:14 through 18, 18:18 through 23, 20:7 through 13, and 14 through 18. With one exception, 20:14 through 18, the so-called confessions adapt a liturgical genre. The complaint psalm to the concerns of the prophetic mission. The first four follow a common pattern of complaint plus divine response. That the last four depart from this pattern, omitting any divine response, and in the case of 20:14 through 18, a self-curse. Even the use of a psalm genre can be correlated to their thematic development and function within the sequence. The Masoretic text performs the confessions to sustain construction of a concrete, specific prophetic mission, and hence an interior view of Jeremiah. The Septuagint performs the, also I like how it's, instead of LXX, LXXV in this one. Each one of these people in Eerdmans notes it differently.
Wait, what? Hold on, let me see that.
Yep, LXXV. Septuagint. Must be, right? Gotta be.
That's really weird. Huh.
Strange. Thanks, Diamond. Well, the Septuagint performs the passages to evoke a communal voice, responding to divine judgment through a prophetic intercession.
Unless it's just a different text overall, because
It could be.
It would be 75, so, and not 70.
Mm.
Septuagint is just LXX 70.
Well, then what's 75?
That.
Yeah, but okay.
I don't know what that would be.
Well,
So,
I'm going to assume that's a typo and he meant Septuagint.
well, we'll see, I guess.
In the latter's case, the features of prophetic mission are not completely or consistently effaced. Rather, the liturgical associations of the passages are exploited in order to insinuate a communal representational reading, thus bringing these passages more in line with the conventional piety of traditional liturgical genre. The dramatized interior psychology of Germanic oracular power is lent paradigmatic potency for the implicit reader. Now, this section, 18 through 23 in in chapter 11, revolves around a conspiracy to kill the prophet by his own town. It's important to note that the tone of the petition, verses 18 through 20, hovers between the confidence and complaint, blending motifs of thanksgiving and complaint psalms. The divine response constitutes an oracle of doom about the conspirators. After all, it was Yahweh who had altered the prophet to his danger. Prophet and deity are in solidarity with each other.
Yeah, because they will have a conspiracy against them. And you know what, the Oracle of Doom stuff, we had a lot of that early on in Isaiah.
Again, he does LXXV.
Huh, okay.
It
then.
says
Probably not a
the
typo.
probably the Septuagint alters verse 18 from "and Yahweh made known to me, and I knew," which was in the Masoretic text, to the more usual introductory address and petition of cultic lament, "Yahweh, make me know, and I shall know." So, without further ado, why don't you hop into these confessions?
And just something interesting, Matthew, the verse that you're quoting, I actually had to translate that verse in my Greek class, so that was a thing that I did. That was fun. Anyways, let's start with Jeremiah's thing. The Lord made it known to me, and I knew. Then you showed me their deeds, but I was like a gentle lamb, led to the slaughter. I did not know it was against me. They devised schemes, saying, "Let us destroy the tree with its fruit. Let us cut him off from the land of the living. Let his name be remembered no more." But, O Lord of hosts, who judges righteously, who tests the heart and the mind, let me see your vengeance upon them, for to you I have committed my cause.
So, and the Lord informed me, and I knew. These words begin the prophecy, which is autobiographical, dealing with hostility towards Jeremiah exhibited by the people of his hometown, Anathoth. Let us destroy the tree with its sap. The received text reads lachmo, it's bread, which by a long stretch might be understood to refer to the fruit of a tree. It seems more likely that the original reading was lecho, it's sap, which involves the deletion of one consonant from the Masoretic version. We need not doubt that Jeremiah is registering here an actual scheme of the men of Anathoth to kill him. Anathoth was a town with a population of priests, and perhaps, as Lundbaum has proposed, they resented Jeremiah's upholding the exclusivity of the Jerusalem cult. Or they may have been catering to the paganizing bent of this populace, which Jeremiah fiercely denounces. Now, so that was
the thing is, it was very syncretic. It was just easier, honestly, to be syncretic.
It was.
If you're under those conditions, let's face it.
But so these verses that we're in right now present a set of problems with great complexity. And one can only moderate certainty on the details of text, redaction, structure, form, and setting. As elsewhere, these specific problems interact so that one's decision on one has consequences for the others. As the text now stands, 11:18 through 12:6 forms a unit made up of a complaint by Jeremiah, which we just finished reading, which ends at verse 20, an answer from Yahweh, which is 21 through 23, another complaint of Jeremiah, 12:1 through 4.
Did you want me to read the until the end of the chapter, God's response?
Yeah, why don't you read God's response?
Okay. Therefore, thus says the Lord concerning the men of Anathoth, who seek your life, and say, do not prophesy in the name of the Lord, or you will die by our hand. Therefore, thus says the Lord of hosts, Behold!
Behold.
I will punish them. The young men shall die by the sword. Their sons and their daughters shall die by famine, and none of them shall be left. For I will bring disaster upon the men of Anathoth, the year of their punishment.
All right, so the conscience. Does it say conscience in yours?
In which verse?
In verse 20?
In verse 20.
Who tests the conscience and the heart?
Who tests the heart and the mind.
Okay, so the literal sense for the mind is kidneys, which were thought to be the seat of the conscience.
Right, of course.
Right. So now this section, 18 through 23. Most critics in the last several decades have assumed dislocations of the text. Thus, Cornell assumed that after the third colon of 12:1 must be inserted 11:22 after the therefore, thus Yahweh of hosts is said.
Okay, so a little switch up he was going for. Okay.
The schemes have been elaborated. Hubman lists 14 of various commentators. The most widely accepted suggestions are that 12:6 belongs in the middle of 11:18 and that 12:3 belongs in the middle of 11:20.
Yeah, a lot of suggestions. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of these suggestions here, but Hubman's literary, critical, and structural analysis of the passage demonstrates that in the earliest stage of the confessional material in chapter 11, it was separate from that in chapter 12, and that the original form of the material in chapter 11 was verses 18 through 20, 22 through 23, without the phrase to the men of Anathoth in verse 23.
Interesting.
And then in chapter 12, it excluded verse 6. Hubman maintains that 11:21, the phrase to the men of Anathoth in verse 23, and 12:6 were added redactionally when the two units were brought together. Thus, a theory of displacement of verses is unwarranted. Two interlocking problems call for the solution of displacement of verses. 1. Verse 18 seems to begin in media res. Verses 18 through 20 do not seem coherent. 2. The specific circumstances of the danger in which Jeremiah found himself are not clear. Commentators who bring 12:6 into the context of 11:18 assume that 12:6 is the content of Yahweh's revelation to Jeremiah. But the intention of 12:6 is to heighten the threat of Jeremiah's fellow villagers. 12:5 speaks of a heightening, and 12:6 explains that heightening. The particle gam even occurs 3 times. Thus, 12:6 belongs where it is. Again, 12:3 shares phraseology with 11:20, but 12:3 is not necessary to explain 11:20. The Masoretic vocalization of 18a, and Yahweh informed me so that I knew, demands a most awkward shift from the third person there to the second person in 18b. That was when you showed me their deeds, since this is something, is in verse 20 is vocative, O Yahweh. One is led to the same expression in 18a as a parallel vocative, as Greek and Syriac do. O Yahweh, inform me so that I can know. But in this way, Yahweh is second person in both cola of verse 18. But there's still a surprising shift from the imperative in verse 18a to historical past in 18b, a shift marked by the emphatic then, here rendered that was when. The solution proposed here is to understand 18a as a prayer and 18b as a testimony of the fulfillment of that prayer. In short, to understand 18a as a self-quotation. The proposal gains somewhat in plausibility when the passage is compared with 27 through 13, with which it has much in common, including virtual duplication of verse 20 in 2012. There, too, Jeremiah quotes himself, 20 verse 8 and 9, and then quotes his opponent's 20:10. Compare verse 19 here. The passage becomes even clearer if the addiction of P's Psalm 35:1 is restored to verse 19 and 20, his opponent, my adversaries. The sequence of thought in 18 through 20 is now seen to involve 3 steps. 1, there is a talk against Jeremiah, and the prophet wants to know what it involves. Verse 18a. 2, Yahweh reveals to him that it's more than talk, it's action, specific plans to have Jeremiah killed. 18b through 19. Jeremiah's enemies, the optimistic prophets, as Hubman proposes, a proposal accepted here, suggests making common cause with an established opponent of Jeremiah's. Pashur, see chapter 20, verses 1 through 6. In order to rid themselves of him, they do this. 3, Jeremiah then asks Yahweh...
Now Pashur the priest, the son of Immer, who was chief officer in the house of the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3, Jeremiah then asks Yahweh to do more than reveal the substance of the plot. He asks him to take action himself against the plotters in verse 20. The sequence of thought becomes clearer if, as proposed in the present study, 11:9 is prefixed to verse 18. By this understanding, Yahweh has revealed to Jeremiah the existence of a conspiracy, and verse 18 is his response to that revelation. So, in summation,
and you know what? The whole conspiracy thing, because the way it's constructed, the initial conspiracy talk is about conspiracy against God, and then it looks like Jeremiah is like, there's a conspiracy against me too, buddy.
It's like to conspire against God is to conspire against Jeremiah,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
But that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Do you hear something?
I hear something very strange.
Whoa!
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
Wow.
Wow, thanks, Jesus. You gave me this water and then turned the water into moonshine.
Oh,
And then the
that's
moonshine
incredible.
Into your blood, which also happened to be water. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
And also wine and
Well,
other things.
I mean, if your blood is now turned into wine, I don't think you have very long to live.
Definitely moonshine.
Oh, moonshine. Oh, wow, amazing.
Yep.
That's incredible. Drinking on the show, drinking on the job.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man,
Yep. Anyways,
horrible.
we're getting into chapter 12 now.
Yeah,
How many chapters are in this book?
there are
50 something.
quite a lot of chapters in the book.
66, I think.
I don't think there's that many.
No.
No.
There's 52. Yeah, 52. All right. Chapter 12. Righteous art thou, O Lord, and I plead with thee, yet let me talk with thee of thy judgments. Wherefore doth the way of the wicked prosper? Wherefore are all they happy that deal very treacherously? Thou,
That was not a very well constructed sentence.
well, what it means is, why are the wicked prosperous? Why are all of them who deal treacherously happy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thou hast planted them, yea, they have taken root, they grow, yea, and bring forth fruit. Oh, we got an internal rhyme scheme. Thou art near in their mouth and far from their reins, but thou, O Lord, knowest me. Thou hast seen me and tried mine heart toward thee. Pull them out like sheep for the slaughter and prepare them for the day of slaughter.
Oh, so just like they were gonna do to Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm. How long shall the land mourn, and the herbs of every field wither for the wickedness of them that dwell therein? The beasts are consumed, and the birds, because they said, ye shall not see our last end. Wow, Jeremiah's like an eco-terrorist. If thou hast run with the footmen, and they have wearied thee, then how canst thou contend with horses? And if in the land of peace, wherein thou trustedst, they wearied thee, then how wilt thou do in the swelling of Jordan?
Yeah, so I want to point out here. So that imagery is taken up again later in Jeremiah, where like I mentioned this in my Heavenly Horseman video, where you you will flee, or you fleed on swift horses, therefore you will flee. So the imagery of getting away from horses, like you can't even get away from those. It's gonna come back around, as well as I forget which book this was already.
Mm.
But there is I forgot what I was gonna say.
Alright.
Just totally just
Well, the
it was in there and then it just
if
left.
you can't keep up with the footmen, you can't keep up with the horses.
Yeah.
Forever, even thy brethren and the house of thy father, even they have dealt treacherously with thee. Yea, they have called a multitude after thee. Believe them not, though they speak fair words unto thee. I have forsaken mine house. I have left mine heritage. I have given the dearly beloved of my soul to the hand of their enemies. Mine heritage is against... my heritage is unto me as a lion in the forest. It crieth out against me. Therefore have I hated it.
Very strange. So yours says heritage there, right? That's verse 8.
Yeah, and also in verse 9, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field. Come to devour.
All right, so quite a few things here on 8 and 9. So the translation that I'm seeing...
That's the least ethnocentric thing I've heard in the Bible.
Well, so my estate has become for me like a lion in the forest. So Alter uses estate, and then Holiday uses possession.
Mm-hmm.
So Yahweh's possession has become to him like a lion in the thicket. In what sense? The lion normally represents Yahweh himself, Amos 1:2, or the enemy that threatens Israel. So it's either Yahweh or the opposite of Yahweh. That's convenient.
Yes.
Indeed, Amos 1:2 states that Yahweh raises his voice in Jerusalem. And it's important to remember that Amos is, in fact, like one of, if not the oldest book in the Bible. So very ancient. But here Israel has raised her voice against Yahweh. Israel has taken on the prerogatives of Yahweh against Yahweh, and this Yahweh cannot accept. In passing, it is to be noted that in the present phrase, the word voice is preceded by the preposition, a usage also found in Psalm 46:7. There is no way to determine what nuance, if any, is expressed by the preposition, which is not normally present in the phrase. Then continuing on here. So for verse 9, this verse offers several textual difficulties. As it stands, the Masoretic text offers, I can't read that, but offers, a certain Hebrew version at the beginning of both the first and second kola. The noun means birds of prey. So at the beginning of both of those. So just to show Holiday's translation here for verse 9, because it was a little bit different. So does the hyena look greedily on my possession for me? Are the birds of prey around her? Go gather all you beasts of the field. Come to devour her.
Okay.
So quite different from the KJV.
Yes. Though the KJV has the most beautiful.
It's just so poetic and
poetic.
flowy.
Yeah.
We don't care about
Dragons!
We don't care about the original text at all.
Why would we?
Yeah.
So
KJV.
many pastors have destroyed my vineyard. They've trodden my portion underfoot. Wow, it's like that song.
I did want to finish the commentary on that.
Oh.
Yeah, because we're still on the birds of prey thing.
Yeah.
So the noun means birds of prey and is construed here either with the interrogative or as the definite article. Given the assumption of two occurrences of birds of prey, the second word of the first colon has been interpreted as the passive participle of a root die. That's D-Y-E, occurring in the noun dyed stuffs. Judges 5:3. Thus, the traditional speckled bird of prey in the first colon, and the explanation that birds will attack another bird of unfamiliar plumage, or else that the first bird of prey is stained with blood.
Wow. So, many pastors have destroyed my vineyard. They have trodden my portion underfoot. They have made my pleasant portion a desolate wilderness. They have made it desolate, and being desolate, it mourneth unto me. The whole land is made desolate, because no man layeth it to heart. The spoilers are come upon all high places through the wilderness. For the sword of the Lord shall devour, and that's a pretty good one, huh? The sword of the Lord shall devour them.
Make sure to get a Rod of God shirt for your
Yeah, you should make a sword of the Lord shirt.
Yeah, sword of the Lord is good too.
Yeah, it'd be like an upside down cross.
Oh, wow.
At the top, right? Anyways, yeah, I gotta find this sword of the Lord, but I was just looking at it.
You're at verse 12.
12. The sword of the Lord shall devour from the one end of the land even to the other end of the land. No flesh shall have peace. They have sown wheat, but shall reap thorns. They have put themselves to pain, but shall not profit, and they shall be ashamed of your revenues because of the fierce anger of the Lord. And they didn't practice that crop rotation. Thus saith the Lord against all mine evil neighbors that touch the inheritance which I have caused my people Israel to inherit.
So the
Now
syntax,
we're talking about Israel.
Yeah, so the syntax of verse 14a is uncertain. The present text can be made to yield sense if the quotation is begun with concerning all my evil neighbors, as is done here.
Yes. So I have a reference to Israel here in 14a. And it says, Behold,
Behold!
I will pluck them up out of their land and pluck out the house of Judah from among them. So 14a references Israel and 14c references Judah, which might be relevant. And it shall come to pass, after that I have plucked them out, I will return and have compassion on them, and will bring them again, every man to his heritage and every man to his land. So it's like, so this is a chronological thing, right? First, the Assyrians sacked Israel, right? And it's saying, now the people of Judah are being removed from the land, but the people of Judah will return to the land eventually.
That is what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, even though earlier on we were just told, like, I won't listen to them anymore. Yeah. Now, of course, that's probably until they get their shit together, which hopefully, they did after the whole exile thing.
Someday. And it shall come to pass that if they will diligently learn the ways of my people to swear by my name, the Lord liveth, as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then they shall be built in the midst of my people. But if they will not obey, I will utterly pluck up and destroy that nation, saith the Lord. And that's the end of chapter 12. If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, share, subscribe. You can speculate as to whether the people of Israel today are following the true commandments of chapter 12 there, and whether Yahweh is gonna pluck them up and destroy them again.
I guess the only time will tell.
I guess.
So one little note here. So on verse 16, learn the ways of my people to swear by my name. What the prophet envisages is a turning of the cultic tables. Of course, previously the Judites had learned from their neighbors to invoke the name of Baal. Now, if those nations are not to undergo continuing exile, they must learn to invoke the name of Yahweh, which implies, accepting the God of Israel.
All right. So Eerdmans doesn't have anything about chapter 13.
Okay, great. And here's some commentaries.
Great.
Yeah, I'll give this to you. Now, this is where we're talking about Jeremiah's loincloth.
Oh, wonderful.
Main
Yeah.
topic.
My favorite piece of clothing.
Yeah, I thought you would like it. I was thinking, Ruin's definitely going to want to cover the loincloth because I know he loves old prophets and their loincloths. So I just figured, we got kind of have to cover it.
My favorite.
Yeah. Either way, so we are jumping into chapter 13.
So the passage evidently formed a collection alongside 12:7 through 13 and 13:12a through 14. The collection was inserted after 12:6 on the basis of catchwords associations with 12:4 through 6. For the details, see 12:7 through 13. So this is a whole section here.
Okay.
That we're
Love sections.
All right, into
let's learn about the loincloth, shall we?
We're learning about the wearing of thongs and yoke pegs.
Oh, can't wait.
Yep.
Thus says the Lord to me, go and buy a linen loincloth and put it around your waist, and do not dip it in water. So I bought a loincloth according to the word of the Lord, and put it around my waist.
So, ancient descriptions of the loincloth.
Can't wait. All right.
Which
Give it to me. Tell me about loincloths.
Well, it's called azor. And it shows two types. One is a simple wrapper, which doesn't pass between the legs. The other is a garment made up of narrow strips of overlapping cloth, which does pass between the legs. There's no way to know which one is intended here. Greek translates a Greek word that's used for both the undergarment of a soldier and for the apron worn by a cook.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, either way, it's covering his junk.
Yep.
And the word of the Lord.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, okay, great.
Jeremiah is now enjoined to carry out a symbolic performative act following the precedent of Hosea and to be continued by Ezekiel. These might be regarded as dramatic visual illustrations of the prophecies. A loincloth that has fallen apart, as this one will do, exposes the genitals. And in poetic prophecy...
No, but we want to see someone in their nakedness.
In the poetic prophecy
75,000 cows.
follows this prose prophecy.
Remember what happened to, remember what happened to Ham? Right? I think it was Ham. Yeah, his son was cursed. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Father's nakedness, yeah.
So
I think it was Ham.
in this and in the poetic prophecy that follows this prose prophecy, the skirts of the personified people will be hitched up to expose their shame. So this is like that scene that is in all the cartoons about the lady with the dress.
Oh, yeah. And she like pushes it down and
She pushes it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what he does with this. And the word of the Lord came to me a second time. Take the loincloth that you have bought, which is around your waist, and rise. Go to Euphrates and hide it in a cleft of the rock. So
Whoa. Euphrates? What are you talking about?
What you got?
Well,
That's in verse 4.
verse 4. Parath. This
Huh.
is a wadi located 2 miles northeast of Anathoth. And moreover,
So it's a valley, okay.
and moreover, here in verse 4,
Okay.
it says Tapara. And it says, vocalizing parata in verse 4, 6, and 7 for Masoretic parata to Parath, the Euphrates, is to be noted that in here, so the Greek reads a different term, which is para, a village near Anathoth. And that location is symbolized, but that location symbolized for him, the Euphrates. What?
Okay.
Okay.
Strange.
Very strange. Yeah, that's That's all they say about it. So it's Para in here, Perath in here, the Euphrates in there. Apparently, Perath and the Euphrates are the same, but Alter says that it's a wadi located 2 miles northeast of
Wadi would
Anathoth.
be like a valley.
Yeah, so that's not the Euphrates.
Right. Unless it's like a certain part of the Euphrates that would be in a valley. I don't know if there is.
How strange. Continue.
Okay, yeah, I will continue. Yeah, so, he was told to hide it in a cleft of a rock. So I went and hid it by the Euphrates as the Lord commanded me. And after many days, the Lord said to me, "Arise, go to the Euphrates, and take from there the loincloth that I commanded you to hide there."
So
we weren't actually told that he went anywhere.
Mhm. So
I thought he was just like waiting there for a while.
Nope.
So if the hiding place at Para represents the Euphrates, then Para will be the water that will work on the loincloth rather than any water which Jeremiah might have used otherwise. So it might be the Euphrates.
All right, so either way, then I went to the Euphrates and dug. So wait, hold on. He hid it in a cleft of the rock, but he had to dig it out?
Guess so.
Huh, okay.
What verse is this?
That was verse 7.
Verse 7. I went to Parath and dug out. Okay. That's
Okay.
dug out there.
Either way, maybe it's like, maybe he's not like, super aggressive about it.
Keep moving rocks.
Yeah, something like that. And I took the loincloth from the place where I had hidden it. And behold,
Behold,
the loincloth was spoiled. It was good for nothing.
it was rotted.
Well,
It literally rotted.
okay. Then the word of the Lord came to me. Thus says the Lord, even so will I spoil the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem. This evil people who refuse to hear my words, who stubbornly follow their own hearts and have gone after other gods to serve them and worship them, shall be like this loincloth, which is good for nothing.
So there's a certain disparity between the symbol and its referent because a loincloth is scarcely a person's pride. The prophet may be thinking of the antithesis of pride, shame, which is what a person suffers without a loincloth to cover his nakedness. In the next verse,
That would make sense.
yeah. In the next verse, the disintegrated loincloth becomes the metaphor of the people itself, and the body to which it once clung but no longer clings is God's.
Yeah, because it strayed from God, and now it has revealed your nakedness, and now you are ashamed.
Which presumably is not something that God would be ashamed of,
You would think.
especially given that
He made it all.
He scolded Adam
Also.
and Eve for being ashamed of that same thing.
Right, like they weren't
See,
before.
It's not a metaphor. Literally, God's people are his clothes. No, okay, I'm done.
The emperor has new clothes.
Yeah.
The emperor's new clothes.
They're just people. The emperor's new clothes are people. Soil and green. Mix that in.
Yeah, so, they're, going after their gods. So they shall be like this loincloth, which is good for nothing. For as the loincloth clings to the waist of a man, so I made the whole house of Israel and the whole house of Judah cling to me, declares the Lord, that they might be for me a people, a name, a praise, and a glory, but they would not listen. So,
Yeah,
they're
become
failing God.
such as to become an object of praise and renown for Yahweh. Yeah. The same phrase with name and praise reversed is found in Deuteronomy 26:17-19, may embody the formula of the covenant concluded by Josiah with the people after the discovery of Deuteronomy, so that Jeremiah may have had the passage in mind and that setting.
You shall speak to them this word. That was the end of the little loincloth story. You shall speak to them this word. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, every jar shall be filled with wine, and they will say to you, do we not indeed know that every jar will be filled with wine? Then you shall say to them, thus says the Lord, Behold,
Behold.
I will fill with drunkenness all the inhabitants of this land, the kings who sit on David's throne, the priests, the prophets, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Doesn't Jesus do that in John? What was it John where he fills all these different jugs
the wedding,
of wine?
the wedding at Cana, yeah. And also, this is very close to a I forget who did it, but it was in Kings. They made a bunch of wine. I forget who it was.
Yeah. So Alter comments, every jar will fill with wine. This bit of the prophecy.
I remember that there was that other thing in Kings where they filled, this endless water jug. I think there was that.
Yeah.
And I think there was a wine thing as well.
So there's pretty extensive commentary here. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll read some of it. Alter says, this bit of the prophecy is presented as a kind of riddle. The people responds by saying that, of course, the jars are made to be filled. God's rejoinder, verse 13, is to explain the jar as a riddling symbolic reference to the people who will be filled with drunkenness, which is to say, a condition of mental confusion and physical tottering. That is a prelude to collapse.
Yeah. Jason corrected me there. It was jars of oil.
Oh, yeah, that was Elisha, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he made sure that they could eat. But this wine stuff, it could be navel, could be wineskin or earthen jar. Thus, Jerome notes that G translates wineskin, that alpha, in his first edition translated in Latin langunicola, presumably Greek for flask, and then in the second edition simply transliterated nabel to play it safe. One wonders. It's translated mixing bowl sometimes, and sometimes vessel. Jerome himself used flask, but offered wineskin in his commentary as an alternative. One may add that both Syriac and T.
Yeah, I think that would be the
Talmud
or Targum, maybe.
Targum. Render with a word that can mean either.
I remember that he actually has something like near the beginning about all those designations, but he had he did have a lot of them, and I've forgotten some of them.
So basically, the idea is that this isn't a positive thing. This isn't like the Jesus story, right?
Right.
So if a Christian is like, well, see, Jeremiah's predicting the events of the New Testament there. No,
oh my God, if someone uses that as a prophecy,
yeah,
or as a prophecy for Jesus, that is stretching to no end. They would be blatantly misinterpreting that. And I don't remember seeing anyone ever make that big.
Well, that's because none of them have ever read the Old Testament. They start in John.
There is that one.
Sometimes they flip back to Psalms or Proverbs.
The thing is, if you go to seminary or something, you do learn this stuff in seminary. You do have to go over, all that.
But this is definitely nothing to do with Jesus, even though there's a parallel event.
But the thing is, I haven't heard anyone make that kind of claim that it was a.
Well, I'm just saying because the way that it's phrased, right? It says, "Thus said the Lord God of Israel: every jar will fill with wine."
Right. So I get. The parallel is obviously there, right?
So it may be. Obviously, this predates the New Testament.
Yeah,
so
but
It might be a reference, right? There's tons of references.
Yes. I'm just saying that I've never seen a Christian make an argument that this is prophetic of Jesus.
I've seen Christians make arguments that random verses that have nothing to do with anything or prophetic of Jesus. So
yes, but I'm just saying the specific one I haven't seen.
Well, I haven't seen anyone say anything about Jeremiah ever. Honestly. Have you?
It's rare.
Us.
It's
I've
rare.
seen us do it.
Maybe
It's
like
rare.
the people who read the Old Testament get through like half of Isaiah and then they're like, nah, I can't do it anymore.
I don't know.
Maybe they finish like half of Exodus and they're like, nah.
I would
can't.
say that like because I know we really wanted to stop when we got to the tabernacle stuff.
Yeah.
That was
It
horrible.
discouraged me to the point where here I am,
And-
happily pushing buttons on the sidelines instead of frontline reading this.
Yep. And also those lists.
First
genealogies.
Chronicles,
Couldn't handle them.
9 chapters of a genealogy. Wow, that
But
was
nobody ever talks about Jeremiah. As far as I know, I'd never heard a single person.
I mean, yeah, like I definitely don't hear like apologists talking about Jeremiah that much. Scholars reference Jeremiah all the time. There's a lot of interesting stuff in Jeremiah.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
As we've been covering.
Not like I have a perfect memory for church, but I was forced to go on Sundays for many years until I was like 11 or so. I never once heard Jeremiah brought up. All these other books I have heard brought up at least once in a quote of some kind for some sort of thing he's trying to tie into, like what he did on Thursday or something. I don't know. The priest was weird. Point being, though, no, they don't bring this up. I don't know why. It's long.
Maybe because there's so much language about Yahweh abandoning his people to destruction.
See, I would not know why. There is quite a lot of anger in Jeremiah. Let's not overlook that.
Oh yeah,
But,
he's like an edgy teenager.
he's definitely very angry. So either way,
It wouldn't surprise me if the people in his hometown were plotting to kill him. If he's like going out on the street, you gotta think of him like a street preacher, right?
sure.
Street preacher who goes out and he's like, they're all gonna die.
Yeah,
Damn
I see.
them.
Okay, I see what you're going
They're
for.
fucking idols.
All right, so he's this whole wine thing. So then you shall say to them, thus says the Lord, behold, I will fill with drunkenness all the inhabitants of this land, the kings who sit on David's throne, the priests, the prophets, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And I will dash them one against another, fathers and sons together, declares the Lord.
So
I will not pity or spare or have compassion that I should not destroy them. Oh boy.
So Holiday says that the mention of the kings who sit on David's throne is derived from 22:4. For a gloss like this, compared to 26, the listings of specific segments of the population in verse 13 is undoubtedly a glossator's expansion.
Yeah, makes sense. He is okay, so yeah, when they are completely not expecting it, they're going to be destroyed completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
just like right now. Here it comes.
All right. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Hear and give ear. Be not proud, for the Lord has spoken. Give glory to the Lord your God before he brings darkness, before your feet stumble on the twilight mountains. On the twilight mountains?
The Twilight Mountains. This beautiful phrase continues the idea of darkness falling, as the mountains are enveloped in the shadows of evening.
What about
And
what about
as
the
you
new
stay
moon?
here at the Twilight Mountain,
What about the
we
new
want to
moon
remind
mountain?
you that there are indeed free, lingerie or whatever, uses of like whatever you want, like the amenities here at the complex. It sounds like a hotel, dude.
Well, the mountains of twilight and the reference to the flock in verse 17 inevitably reminds the hearer of Psalm 23, verse 4. Sheep must be brought to the fold before darkness falls. By the same token, the people are to give glory to Yahweh before it's too late.
Oh no.
So okay, so let's we understand the Twilight Mountains. But yeah, what about the New Moon Mountains? What about the Eclipse Mountains? What about the Breaking Dawn Mountains?
Jeez.
They sparkle.
Yes, they do.
Those waxing
Yeah.
mountains.
Yep, absolutely. And while you look for light, he turns it into gloom and makes it deep darkness. But if you will not listen,
He makes it death's darkness. An
Oh.
altar.
boy, spooky.
There's no note.
But well, I guess deep and death would.
Mhm.
But if you will not listen, my soul will weep in secret for your pride. My eyes will weep bitterly and run down with tears because the Lord's flock has been taken captive. Say to the king and the queen mother, take a lowly seat, for your beautiful crown has come down from your head. The cities of Negev, or the Negev, are shut up, with none to open them. All Judah is taken into exile, wholly taken into exile.
Yeah, so Holiday says, say to the king and queen mother, take a lower seat, for there comes down from your heads your splendid crown. The store cities are shut with none to open. Judah is all exiled, a total exile. It says here, there's a divergence regarding the imperative in the first colon of verse 18. Masoretic has singular, while Greek and Syriac have a plural. The plural would suggest a command to the people. Rudolph accepts the reading, while a singular would assume a command to Jeremiah. On balance, it's better to stay with Masoretic. There's no way to determine whether the quotations end with verse 18 or continues in verse 19 as well. The remainder of verse 18 uses the motif of the king coming down from his throne. It's an old motif found in Ugaritic of El's descent from the throne when he mourns the death of Baal. It is found in taunts over the enemy and in dirges over one's ally. How the motif functions here depends on one's understanding of the first colon. If Jeremiah speaks, the tone must be analogous to his other pronouncements over Jehoiakim, namely 22, 24 through 27, and 28 through 30. It is thus hardly a taunt, and it's unlikely to be a dirge if understood as a word from Yahweh. It's best left to the general category of a judgment speech, and verse 19 confirms that characterization.
So on to verse 20 here. Lift up your eyes and see those who come from the north. Where is the flock that was given you, your beautiful flock? What will you say when they set as head over you those whom you yourself have taught to be friends to you? Will not pangs take hold of you like those of a woman in labor?
So,
And of course, the pangs of a woman in labor, that's come up a lot, actually.
it says here, verse 21, altars. What will you say when he appoints over you, and it was you who taught them, leaders to be ahead? Will not pangs seize you like a woman in labor? He says, this reference is ambiguous. Rashi understood the appointer as God. Kimchi thought that he refers to the enemy who, having conquered Jerusalem, chooses local governors for his own purposes, and that may be more likely, for as it was you who taught them. The most plausible meaning of this opaque clause is that if you resent these disagreeable leaders with whom you are saddled, you have only yourselves to thank for fastening the administration of your society on morally dubious figures who can now be exploited by your conquerors.
And if you say in your heart, why have these things come upon me? It is for the greatness of your iniquity that your skirts are lifted up and you suffer violence. So is this a reference to
Loincloth.
the loincloth thing? I don't know.
I think it's a callback.
Well, very well may be. I'll get into that in a second, but first, this is translated by Alter as though through your many crimes, your skirts were stripped, your heels ripped back.
Or is this just like a straight up thing about you have been uncovered again? You have been found out. You are ashamed.
It says, the focus on the heels may be puzzling, but women would have worn long robes, everything covered all the way down to the heels. The exposure of the heels then becomes a synodoke for the exposure of the legs and most of the body. It should be noted that the verb here, nechmesu, indicates a violent act or the perpetration of an outrage. And in here, it says the noun shul means skirt. Skirts filled the temple, Isaiah 6:1. Here it's evidently a euphemism for the genitals. Since shulayit is repeated in verse 26, it's tempting here to read shukayid, your thigh, following the diction in Isaiah 47:2. It must be admitted that your skirt fits the verb in 26 better than the verb your thigh would fit with the parallelism. But the word your thigh would fit with the parallelism with another word, but Greek gives the identical euphemistic translation both here and 26. So it's safer to say that it's your skirt.
Okay.
The noun cave is literally heel. But again, your heels is clearly euphemistic, like feet in Isaiah 6:2 and elsewhere. This is the only instance of suffer violence for this word in the Old Testament.
Oh.
The related noun occurs in 6:7. Here it's clearly sexual violence that's meant.
Makes sense,
The
yeah.
imagery it's shifted from the loss of a lock to ravishment, an image for invasion, which has a sexual connotation.
Gotcha. Can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? Then also you can do good. Then also you can do good who are accustomed to do evil.
What?
Wait, what?
It seems to be that they're suggesting
That you can do
You
those things.
can change the color of your skin.
This formulation in traditional translations, Kushi is rendered as Ethiopian. It expresses a profound moral pessimism. Just as these bodily features are ineradicable, your propensity for evil will never change. And so a national catastrophe is inevitable.
So why did my translation say that?
Yeah, it's
Because my translation still doesn't make sense. What does Altars say?
can a Nubian change his skin, a leopard its spots? Then you too might be able to do some good who are learned in doing evil.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Satiric.
Okay, yeah, it's satirical.
Yeah.
Okay. I will scatter you like chaff, driven by the wind from the desert. This is your lot, the portion I have measured out to you, declares the Lord, because you have forgotten me and trusted in lies.
So, like floating chaff. Although kash usually means straw. Straw is not easily windblown. So there seems to be a semantic slide from straw to chaff. That image is akin to that of Psalms 1:4, where a different Hebrew word, matz, is used.
I myself will lift up your skirts over your face, and your shame will be seen.
So obviously, this is...
considering the connotations of the word we were just talking about earlier.
It says, the relatively elliptical image of a woman stripped in verse 22 now becomes brutally explicit.
Yeah.
Her face covered by her own hitched up skirts, her entire naked body is exposed, and this looks like the sad condition of a woman about to be raped.
Yeah. Yeah. So it does not looking good on God here.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I have seen your abominations, your adulteries and neighings, your lewd whorings. Oh my God,
So
he's a nice guy.
For neighings, in a literal meaning, it's in 8:16, as a sign of sexual excitation, it's also used.
He's not getting God,
oof.
so he's an incel
This,
to God.
This is not looking. not
Well,
looking too good
the
here.
term neighings is often used for the noises made in revelry. It's also used for a horse's neighing.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks.
Either
Why
way,
would you have the same term?
like he's oof. Okay.
Actually, what's going on in these Judean houses where
Well,
they
you know-
think these two things sound the same? It's a bit beyond me.
I don't know, man. Either way,
You know what
This
they were
isn't
doing
looking
in those
good.
stables in Bethlehem?
That's why
Tending
Jesus
the
was
horses. Jeez, guys.
born
Wow.
there.
I guess
They
it
were
was just
tending
really
the
loud.
horses.
I guess it was just really loud,
I
and
guess.
that's all they had going. Maybe
All she wrote.
Great.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, your adulteries and neighings, your lewd whorings on the hills in the field. Okay. So maybe it's a on the hills in the field. Maybe it's a high places thing.
Or field plowing.
Yes, that means two things.
On hills in the
Field plowing.
As elsewhere, sexual imagery mingles literal and figurative senses. Idolatry is conceived as adultery.
There you go.
The betrayal by Israel of her divine spouse often involved a fertility cult with orgiastic rites.
Okay. Well, man, in modern context, this is looking horrible.
Yeah, it really is.
I guess for ancient literature made sense. But yeah. Oof. Okay. Woe to you, O Jerusalem! How long will it be before you are made clean?
Yep. And that's the end.
Yep, that is the
of
end.
our chapters for the day.
Yes, that was chapter 13. So some exciting stuff there. That last chapter had some interesting things.
Intense imageries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to say the least. Yeah, I don't really know what to say after that one.
We get to hear all about how God raped Israel.
Or how he's very mad at Israel and how he is kind of threatening to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So either way,
Judeo-Christian morality, everyone.
hey, this is God.
Yeah.
And it's all the stuff that
Well,
you definitely
hold on. Actually, I wouldn't even say
didn't
this
hear
is God. I would say this is Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Of course, this is the bit that later is later happens in the New Testament. The raping by God bit when he rapes Mary.
Oh, sure.
And
There has been some talks about that.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I think she was like totally okay with it.
How would he-
Because the Holy Spirit was like there before, and he was like, "Hey, this is gonna happen." And she's like, "Okay."
Look,
Or was it to
let's-
Joseph? I forget.
Let's assume that you're some rando peasant woman, right? Now, let's assume also that someone, just not even a god, just someone who is in a much higher position, let's say a king, a prince, says, "You have sex with me now." Well, there's such a power imbalance. there
Yes,
that
I'll
can't-
agree. I agree. The power imbalance, yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely that. Either way, it doesn't look too good.
No.
Yeah. Next, on Friday we are going to be discussing Tobit.
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to be starting that. Very excited
Over
to.
there.
I'll
Isn't
grab it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Here it is. So we're going to be talking about this book. It's a neat little story.
And sooner
Hopefully.
or later, we're going to start doing the Quran.
Yep. We're going to
I'm
make a schedule for
Thinking
that.
we'll start it next month at some point.
Yeah, probably.
in February.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily the beginning of next month, but I think next month.
Yeah. We'll
We
talk
got to
about that.
contact our contacts and
Yeah. We'll schedule something.
Yep.
Let's see, and then we're gonna be continuing Jeremiah, obviously, this week.
Yep. And we also have a Patreon. that
Yes,
you can
we
check
do.
out. So go check it out. For $1 a month, you can get our scripts. For $10 a month, you can get in the t-shirt giveaway. For $5 a month, you can get books we self-publish. For $20 a month, you can get
Be
tickets.
part of our hangouts too.
Yeah, hangouts. And for $50 a month, once a month, you can be on one of our shows. So that's cool, huh? Also, we have a Teespring, wacky and fun T-shirts, and get yourself a Rod of God T-shirt for February coming up.
For your loved ones,
Yep.
the Rod of God.
Now that Christmas is over, you got to start thinking about Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
What's the sword idea,
You know, oh yeah.
The sword of the Lord.
Yeah,
Sword of the Lord. I want a Sword of the
Okay.
Lord
So
t-shirt.
which is a better weapon, the Rod of God or the sword of the
man.
Lord?
That's a tough
But
call.
they're a good pair to sell together. You know, you
Yep.
get Sword of the Lord for your main man if you're a chick, and you get
Yep.
the Rod of God for your favorite girl.
So we got some good shirts and stuff there on Teespring. So if you don't want to wait for the so if you do become a $10 patron,
Dual-wield.
Dual-wield bra.
so if you do become a patron, and let's say you don't win one of the shirts, you can always just get a shirt on our Teespring. We have those available.
But given that Landon's won so many times, the statistical probability is in your favor.
That's right.
Yes,
Sign up.
but
Fair.
it only works if you are signed up. So yeah, get
Don't-
yourself a shirt.
Don't
We
forget
also.
Amazon wish list.
Yep.
Yes.
Got our books there.
Lots of books.
Want to read for you?
I added, and this is just to help me. I don't expect anyone to buy this. I'll probably buy it eventually, probably before the next semester starts.
Mhm.
It's just a Greek Septuagint. It's just like I want to be able to practice Greek.
Greek and English.
No, just Greek.
You should get a Greek and English one. It'll do
I don't.
better.
Then
for
I'd feel like cheating. I feel like I'm cheating.
you're studying.
Yeah, man, you're studying.
You
I
really,
I
have an
have
issue with
Bibles. I have plenty of Bibles. So if I have to check something, I will.
it? Let's do
Okay.
this. And by the way, you're not guaranteed that those Bibles that you have are based on the same Greek as that.
That is accurate. That is accurate. But you know what? That's why
We're here
I
to
also
tell you about
have-
all these translations.
also have text critical versions.
Oh, fair enough.
So
Well, anyways, that's like everything. Facebook, Twitter.
yeah, Facebook and Twitter, completely free to follow us on there. And I think I think that's it.
Yep.
Yep.
So, I guess without further ado, we will
See you on Friday.
and then
Also Sunday, we're around.
Eventually,
Later,
we'll
guys.
see
We'll
some